I'd like to introduce Marcus Philemon of Court Watch.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good morning. First off, I'd like to thank CMPD for an opportunity to come in here and to basically convey some of our research for the last decade we've been involved in the criminal justice system. My hopes are, before we leave here today, we've got the solution to the problem, but we need those that are creating the problem to change the problem. So I'm going to call a few areas out, and I'll call a few people out. So this is not new information. This is not new stories. I get called on a regular basis. I'm just a citizen running a citizens organization creating transparency in the criminal justice system. Our organization sits in the courtrooms. We document factual information as to what happens during that case. We put it on our website. We create a level of transparency in the criminal justice system that is not there and has never been there. So for 10 years we've been doing this, and we hope that you guys can look to us and know that we know what we're talking about. I know a lot of you guys. I've done interviews with a lot of you guys. We've done story after story on electronic monitoring. We've done, back in 2018, more teens committing violent crimes in Charlotte with a question mark. I think you can remove the question mark. More teens are creating havoc in our neighborhoods and are creating more violent crimes in our neighborhood. 2017, does the pretrial release program work? Teen arrested dozens of times before charged with murder. How effective are electronic monitor devices? That's 2018, 17, 16, 15. It's been the same news topics for the last 5-6 years. It's the same story. We just need to come up with solutions and resolutions instead of doing the same stories, a reactive story, instead of proactively, what can we do to change this? So I do appreciate the opportunity they've given me. I don't get this opportunity very often. And please do not hold CMPD accountable for my words. These are my words, my organization's words. And if you guys have any follow-up questions or issues with me, you can come see me directly at Charlotte Court Watch, Marcus Philemon. We've narrowed it down to, in our opinion, these are the 3 areas that are giving the criminal justice system the most problem, and this is where we can correct the problem. Bad policy, lack of common sense, and poor leadership. It comes down to those 3, and I'll elaborate on all 3 of those. Back in 2010, when we first started this organization, Judge Bell was the chief administrative court judge. We had a problem as citizens because bail bonds were being set inconsistently. We'd have one individual being arrested for breaking and entering, his bond would be $500. Another individual arrested for breaking and entering, his bond would be $15,000. So we went to Chief Lisa Bell, and we said we'd like more consistency. There's no consistency. So they implemented a bail bond policy back in 2010, which is documented. I have a copy of it. It's online. But they wanted to do more consistency. So they wanted to take public safety into consideration first and foremost. They wanted to take whether or not this individual was a gang member or gang affiliation into consideration when setting bond. Whether or not they had what amount of failure to appears when setting bond. So they came up with a consistent bail bond policy, and that policy on misdemeanors was $500 to $2,500. On felony cases, it was $2,500 all the way up to $25,000, and minimum for robbery up to $50,000. Fast forward now to 2019. About a year ago, the bail bond policy changed. There are no more minimums. There's no consistency. These magistrates do not have to set. They can set a 0 bond amount, and it's happening. And I have examples for you if you'd like to see those examples. But they get to use their own discretion, and it allows one ideals to influence the process. Where there was once a minimum and a maximum, there's nothing now, and our community is paying the price for it. Secondly is Mecklenburg County Pretrial Release Program. Pretrial release is funded by Mecklenburg County. It was started as a great program for indigents, those individuals that are panhandling, loitering, low-level crimes. They didn't want those individuals to stay in jail while they were waiting their trial, so they created this program for indigents. Fast forward to today, you can be accused of common law robbery and kidnapping and still qualify for the pretrial release programs. So these policies that are changing, these policies that are wreaking havoc on our society, and the documentation where our crime rate and violent crime is going up, there is a direct correlation with bad policy and the crime rate going up. Secondly, I want to address the common sense aspect of what goes on in our criminal justice system. Public safety is supposed to be considered heavily when setting terms for release. That was reinforced last week by a District Court 26 representative who said public safety is first and foremost considered when setting bonds. I have examples this week, last week, prior weeks, months ago, years ago, where public safety is not being considered when these bond amounts are being set. I have an offender, Nathaniel Marcus, and I don't have the graphics because I've got paper. I apologize, old school. But Marquise Faulkner, he was arrested 2016, released unsecured bonds. Order for arrest, unsecured bonds released. Order for release on robbery with a dangerous weapon and breaking and entering. And then lastly, on 6/17/2019, his arrest was for murder. There's a young individual, we've already gone over Andy Garcia, by the name of Elijah Toure. $500,000 in bonds were unsecured. And those bonds were for assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill or inflict serious injury. He had pending charges whenever these $500,000 bonds were unsecured. So there's example after example. If you guys would like to see me for more specific examples, I'd be love to be able to provide them to you. But the last thing that I think is a big problem in our criminal justice system is the poor leadership. And there's some within the system who were elected and some who were not elected but appointed by those elected officials. Their leadership and judgment has failed us by inserting their own ideology in the decision-making process of terms of release of dangerous criminals. These leaders are failing us as citizens of Mecklenburg County, and the citizens are paying the price for it. And I just want to give you an example, and I told you I was going to give you a couple of names where you guys could start with if you wanted to. In Mecklenburg County, we seem to do things differently. There's a magistrate over at the magistrate's office who says that all he's doing is upholding the law. Well, he's upholding the law differently than 99 other counties in North Carolina. So what makes him right other than his own idealism? And I'll tell you, the law is supposed to be upheld by the way it was written, but this is off to Khalif Rhodes, who's the chief magistrate over there in the magistrate's office. This is off his own Facebook page. He wants to thank the 33 magistrates of Mecklenburg County for standing at the front door of the justice system and buying into my vision for justice, unquote. It's not his vision. It's not his vision to be able to influence the other magistrates to make their decisions. It's the way the law is written, and that's why we are where we are today. People's ideology, they're inserting that instead of the rule of law, and the citizens of Mecklenburg County are paying the price for it. Lastly, I will tell you, the individual who appointed Khalif Rhodes is district court judge. When I told you Lisa Bell was the chief district court judge administratively back in 2010, Reagan Miller is now our current chief administrative court judge. And he not only put Khalif Rhodes in that position, he continues to renew his contract and allow him free rein to make the decisions that he makes that puts every citizen in Mecklenburg County at danger. So basically, to wrap it up, if you guys want to see solutions to the problem, if you want to see this problem fixed tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow, you talk to those individuals and have them change their mindset, have them start upholding the law as written instead of their ideology, and we'll make a dent in this as soon as tomorrow. It's not rocket science, and I have the documentation to prove it. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity, and I believe Chief Putney has a few things to say.